Welcome to the Rock and Roll Podcast Plus One, your all access pass to the people who make the music we all love. As a member of Saigon Kick and Cold Sweat, co-host Chris McLernon has himself gone platinum. Radio veteran Jack Trash cut his on-air teeth at the legendary metal rocker KNAC-FM in Los Angeles. And together, Jack and Chris talk to friends old and new, and you are on the guest list as their Plus One.
Welcome into another episode of Plus One, a rock and roll podcast. I'm Jack Trash.
I am Chris McLernon.
And today, this is episode 2. We've made it to 2.
We did. We have doubled our effort. What do you think of that, kids?
I love this. Today, we're going for a little bit of low-hanging fruit.
We are. We're, and I'm sure he'd take that as a compliment. We are talking about one of my bandmates and certainly one of my best friends is Phil Varone. So he's kind of an easy one to get on here because A, we'll talk a lot, and B, it's going to be funny.
Right.
So, and this was just a small slice of what usually goes on with us, but it'll give you an idea.
Right. So let's kind of do this. Let's go with kind of your timeline because you're not the original bass player from Saigon Kick.
Nope.
So why don't you tell us how your involvement with the band became a reality?
Cold Sweat had died and we were doing Cold Gin in LA to pay the bills. And thankfully, Gene and Paul let us do that. And I was looking around for other bands. And a friend of mine named John Germanario, who worked at Polygram Mercury at the time, got a hold of me, knowing that Saigon Kick was my favorite band. I mean, it was. I had an advanced copy of The Lizard, so I'd been listening to it since March. This was like end of May, June, when John called me. It was on a Monday. He goes, "Hey, man, Saigon Kick fired their bass player over the weekend. Here's who you need to send your stuff to." I was like, boom. Now, and just because the way the universe works, the week before, I'd finally gotten my promo shot from Niels Lozauer, who he calls Lowe's. Mm-hmm. You know, he just done it for me as a favor. And I just literally gotten the copies. So took that, threw that in an envelope, threw the Cold Sweat thing queued a long way down because I thought if we, because I knew Cold Sweat was kind of like just before what Saigon Kick was doing.
Right.
So I queued it up the long way down. There's kind of edgier ones on there. And they said later, we didn't even listen to it. We like your picture. I was like, okay, well, there you go. So they called me, manager called me first, who lived there in California. I was in LA. And then he got a hold of the band, and Jason called me while I was at my day job. So we're talking about, whatever. And yeah, I come out, I learn all this stuff. Wait, hang on just a second. Yeah, that'd be 1041. That's a roll of 24, so, photo store lingo. Flew out, red eye, got picked up by their guitar tech, Spidey, Phil Plaskin, who had a tint on his windshield, like halfway down. So you're like going like this, trying to get up above the tint and below the tint. And,
never understood that.
Yeah, I didn't then. I don't now. So we go and I take a nap and wake up and we have lunch. And Phil and Jason drive up and I look at both of them like, who are these guys? Like they look nothing like their photos, nothing. And they're looking at me like, who's this guy? And I'm like, okay, at least I know it looks sort of like my photos. You guys don't look anything like them.
Right.
We go to lunch, of course, at a Chinese place. What else? We're in Florida. And then Matt shows up at the edge of the table. And I'm like, who's this guy? Because he doesn't look like his picture. Nobody did. And we went and played. We just started playing. And we hit it from the word go. It just, everything went well. I fit in personally, which I think was the biggest thing for them.
Right.
Because if you got 9 guys, 10 guys on a tour bus for 9, 10, 12 months at a time, you got to get along, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crucial. Yeah. And they said later, we went out that night and hung out and played pool and drank beer and all that sort of silly stuff. And had just a blast. And then went back in the next day and rehearsed again. And Beeler at the end of it said, "Hey, man, as far as I'm concerned, you're the guy and you're in, but you're only the second guy in. So we've got a couple more to do. Just, and I said, dude, I know it, no problem. But I've been through this process in Los Angeles for years. No problem. I got you." So I go home and say to my now wife, well, I'm here. And she's like, what happened? And I told her. She's like, well, what do you think? It's like, I nailed it. I knew I did. And there was only one song I didn't have, kinda. And it was, I had Jason show it to me. We went, took a break. I practiced it and came back and I had it. I mean, I knew they said, we do both records. So like, okay, I knew both records like the back of my hand, every song.
Right.
And because I wanted the fucking gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I really, really did. And I just couldn't believe I got the phone call. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now I'm in this shitbox apartment in Van Nuys in a Mexican drug neighborhood. I'm like, you know what? I'd like to get out of here.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, now this will be, the now we're dating ourselves section. So I go to Blockbuster to grab some movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come back, and my wife says, Jason Bieler called while you're out. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Because usually when bands get a new guy, it's someone they know.
Right.
It's rarely an outsider. And I couldn't have been more of an outsider.
Right.
And so I call him up and I go, hey, man, how's it going? I'm just waiting, like, racing, going, this is not going to be good. And he goes, well, the gig's yours if you want it. I was like, I want it. And he goes, cool, we'll see you Tuesday. And this is like, whatever. I had to just pack up my shit and go back again. And then off we were. We're gone.
Right.
Everything was Saigon Kick from then on out.
Wow. Okay. All right. So
Phil called me right after Jason did.
Yep.
So Jason hung up the phone, and literally ring 2 seconds later, and there's Phil. Congratulations, welcome to the band. This is awesome. I can't wait to get started. Blah blah blah. So we were off and running from the first meetings.
That's awesome. So what did so you get the gig?
Yep.
Now you got to go 2,500 miles.
Yeah.
To Florida. What did Lisa do?
She hung out in Los Angeles packing her stuff up because we were going to move to Florida, right?
Yep.
So she's doing that. Gets it all done, and then halfway across the U.S. in the Rocky Mountains, the moving truck catches fire. Yeah.
What?
Yep. So everything we got is gone. Whatever I own is on the tour bus.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I like for a minute I felt bad. I'm like, oh, holy shit. I mean, everything was gone. I mean, guitars that Ed Van Halen gave me. I had a bass that Gene signed. I played all the Cold Gin gigs with. I had, of course, photos and stuff that you just can't get rid of. And but that week I found out 2 friends of mine both lost their mothers.
Oh.
I was like, you know what? I can get new stuff.
Right.
This is okay. And I think we'd also gone we just broken into the top 30 or something. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I lost my stuff, but as you can see behind me, I got more stuff.
Yeah, you got more stuff.
It's cooler stuff.
True. All right, so let's get Mr. Varone on here with us on +1.
Here he comes. Here he comes. The Italian combo, the skinny guinea. We also know him as Bill Malone. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Varone.
All right. So if we can get one question in, that's not going to be a normal answer anyway. As a fan, I have always heard about the rhythm section to a band. I've got the rhythm section to the band right here. What is the dynamic of the rhythm section to a rock band?
Well, I mean, outside of being the most important thing in the band and the guitar player and the singer suck, I don't really know. I think the dynamic is that we get no credit for anything. So
right. And if it's wrong, everyone knows.
Right.
That's the crazy part.
What's the first thing you see, when you see a band? It'd be the bad drummer. It was the first thing you really hear would be bad drums, right?
Yep.
And bad singing. It's pretty much goes in that thing. And I just did this breast cancer drumathon in Dallas that I do every year. And I'm actually on the committee for a volunteer committee. And so I went down there, and Gina Shock from Go-Go's, Jimmy DeAnda from Bullet Boys, Kent Slusher, who plays with Luke Bryan, Sandy Gennaro, just legendary drummers. And we're all sitting there laughing and telling stories. And Gina is wonderful. Just, I couldn't say enough. Legend, and that's the thing that we said. We're like, isn't this funny? We all gather around here and we never get credit for anything. It's like, it's always the singer. It's always this.
Right.
It goes bad. And so as far as the rhythm section is concerned, I've always said they're tapping their feet to me in the rhythm section. Like they're tapping it to us, man. They're not tapping it to the singer. They're not tapping it to the guitar player.
No,
tapping it to us, and we're laying it down.
I mean, think about a wedding. People will always forgive us someone who sings crappy, right? They will always deal with that. But when someone is a bad dancer, they leap all over it in 2 seconds.
And I don't know why it's maybe singing is so hard, so people give it a little leeway. I don't know.
Could be.
But I know for a rock band, and I've seen some shitty drummers live, and I'm not going to name names, but man alive. To me, the first thing I hear is bad drumming.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because it's the rhythm section, the grooves that, I went to see Shine Down the other night and they just ripped the roof off the joint,
Right.
just laid it down. And what do you call it? Opened up for them, Papa Roach, shredding, just good, solid, great drumming. It's just a whole band. And we took pride in that. Chris and I, one thing I'll take out of Saigon Kick, and him and I have talked about this, is militant rehearsals.
Yeah.
When you to first of all, the idea, that was another thing we talked about. I said to Gina, I go, did you ever stop to think, like, what am I doing right now? And am I insane for going after this dream? And they said, well, no, that wasn't, right. That's not what we knew. Like, we didn't know, but all we knew was trying to get a record deal, but in our minds, we were going to get it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there was no, like, you're not going to get it. That wasn't even on. And everybody we've talked to, all the drummers said the same thing. That anybody that got a record deal, I sit back now and go, what? How the hell did we do this? Because we would never do that now. Like, because we're smart. We're like we've been, like we're worldly now. We would know. That's like saying to me, hey, I'm gonna go try out for the Raiders or so. Like, it's crazy.
Right.
But one of the things that got us there was just rehearsing nonstop in our live shows. We really took pride in that, and watching other bands that just used to wipe the stage with us.
Yeah.
And it was a weird transition because Chris is well-rounded, guitar, bass, sings great, a pain in the ass. And all I can do is play drums. So with Saigon Kick, it was weird. I was just a drummer who got a record deal. I wasn't a professional drummer, so making the leap from rock star, if you will, to professional drummer was massive. And it took a lot of work. And that work ethic is something that I've put into everything that I do through life. And I think that all the greats do. You never, they may complain, but there's a reason why Kobe was Kobe, or
right.
They were a cut above LeBron, or anybody in the NFL, or whoever, you name it. They're a cut above what other people were doing. And I think that is what we did with music too. And my biggest, I guess, achievement musically was to play with Jakey Lee finally. Like I auditioned for him, and that was another caliber of playing that I thought was, I felt really good about myself. And that's why it was easier for me to kind of not have to play anymore, because I kind of got to the pinnacle. Not to say that everybody that I played with wasn't great, but to me, it was like playing with Jakey Lee. People said to me immediately when they found out I played with them, he went, "Oh my God, you must be great." And that's frightening, because I never, because it's like all of a sudden you got to be great every night, and it's not that I can't be, but I never looked at myself as great. I just loved playing drums, and I just wanted to be the best I could at what I did. I never was in competition with anybody.
Right. And you played with some really good guitar players.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, great guitar players. I mean, Jason's a great guitar player, the Snake and Scotty.
Yeah.
Guitar players. Those guys are so underrated. I have to say, not only are they great players, they're great playing together.
Yes.
Because, when you have two guitar players, oh yeah. Can you imagine? Those guys really complemented each other, and they never, like for like the big solos, they took turns on it. Like they gave each other space. But yeah, I mean, all kinds of great players through my years, and very fortunate. And we just did the Boom record with Sean, and then of course we had Joel Hellman play, monster. Yep. So it's been a fun ride. I think what's happening now is better because it's like we don't need it for money or anything, so we're actually enjoying music now.
Right.
Where before I was like, I don't know, I don't want to say I was resentful, but I was kind of a little bit, because it was like I needed money for the family. Now it's like, you want to play? Okay, we'll play. Like it's no, there's no urgency to
Right.
play. I think that's where we can enjoy it, and I can really actually look back and enjoy what we did now, because there was a time that I didn't, you know.
Yeah. I think there's also another dynamic that's really crucial with the rhythm section is there's got to be a connection that's other than music.
Yeah.
So with Phil and I, comedy is clearly one of them.
Right.
And when I got the gig, he was the second person that called me. Beeler told me first, and then Phil was right behind him. He's like, "Hey man, welcome to the band." And so, I mean, since the day I joined, Phil and I just had this sort of mental like crosswalk where we just connected. One could go the other way, and one could be like, "Here, come here, try this, try that, try this, try that," and it always worked, no matter what. Even when he was not when we weren't in Saigon Kick together, it was always there.
Yeah.
So I think that's crucial with the rhythm section. You have to it's not like mind reading, but it's a big musical agreement that you have to have.
Yeah, I would think there's even a little bit of mind reading, maybe not mind reading, but at least body language reading. If you're, you're looking at him and he knows what you're thinking right there.
Yep.
Yeah. No doubt. I think it's like that. And then there's a time where I always find like the beginning of the tours are kind of like you're trying to find your sweet spot, and then all of a sudden it happens.
Right.
From that point forward on tour, it's like, all right, we're good,
Right.
But Chris and I, when he walked into the audition, I was like, he's in. There was no, I was like, if this guy could play, he's, there's no, and it was like, as soon as he plugged in, it was like, okay, it's on. Let's go. Let's pack the truck. Let's
right.
put this out. And it was a breath of fresh air, because at Saigon Kick at the time, we had just let our old bass player go, and he wasn't really a band guy. Like look, you're in a band together, and you're always gonna kind of get annoyed with each other, but then there's like really just annoying people. Right. And it just never really fit in with us, I don't wish ill will. I'm not mad at him. Right. It just didn't fit, With
right.
Chris, and it was like, we were thick as thieves immediately.
Oh yeah.
And that was it. But yeah, that has a lot to do with it. Like when we did our last record with Panic Boom, the singer, Randy, was like, I can't believe how good you guys play together. I'm like, it's 30 years, man. Yeah. I mean, if we didn't play good, I'd be like, what happened?
Right. So, you don't have to think about it. It's like, just go.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, in a way, it's like, we talked about doing some Saigon shows, and I would just enjoy the stage again.
Yeah.
So we could just go play. And again, we would play with nothing above us. It's just like, oh, let's go play some shows. Yeah. Right. Or not.
Right.
However it falls, we're good, and I'd like to enjoy that now. And that's how I would play, without any drama or anything like that. So I think we've earned that at this point in our career. So.
Yeah, and I think you start out that way too. You just want to play really well with your friends.
Yeah.
And you go through all the other stuff, and then you turn around and you're like, okay, well, how do we want to end this? Well, let's just play really well with my friends.
Yeah, you want to play with your friends. I mean, that's how bands are. I mean, technically, we all start as friends.
Yeah.
Some end weird. But I mean, for the most part, we're just a bunch of friends that want to jam, and then some of us go further than others.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's really hard there's no real formula other than just working your ass off, and hopefully you found like-minded people.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. You got to be in some luck, I guess, but great is great. I just feel that if you do something, and Saigon Kick was special back then, and the Florida was wide open. South Florida was wide open for the taking, and we just so just playing with those guys, no matter how many bad times we had, and Chris and I have talked about this, it goes back to what I was saying before, the militant rehearsals, the just getting what's the word, I can't think of the word, but basically it set the tone for the rest of my career. Right. So when I was in other bands, I wanted to rehearse, I wanted to be great, I wanted to do those things. It just set it that way, and also into what I do now, which is editing. I mean, I think changing careers at my age was probably as crazy as thinking I'm going to get a record deal. Right. because it was like COVID hit and you're going, okay, I was on the road with Jake, hurting bad. I knew I wasn't going to tour more, there's no way. And then COVID hit and I'm like, yes. And because that took me off the road. But then I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to make money? So I think, a 55-year-old with my past and I'm applying for jobs, I mean, I'm editing, which is something I love just as much as drumming.
Right.
But I told my boss a while back, I was like, I just thought I was unhireable. And luckily the company I work for they don't care. It's about editing and stuff. So but I couldn't get to that level unless I again used what I knew as a drummer and put it into editing, which was editing 12 hours a day, learning militant stuff, just finding out the trends and the things, because these kids come out of school with a degree, they're 20 years old, they'll work for nothing, and here I am, an old guy that's like, I want to be an editor now, so but I use the same work ethic as I did with music, and if I decide to do something else, I'll do the same.
And I think what you said earlier was really important. You said you guys were going to get a record deal, and we're not going to get a record deal. We're going to get a record deal. You didn't have any of the scar tissue, which is what you're talking about, why you wouldn't go try out for the Raiders other than they kill you. But and that's probably why it's worked so well for you into a new career, because you didn't have you just, I'm going to do this, and this is what I'm going to do. And people that have that focus are usually the ones who are very successful at it.
Yeah, and it was funny. My daughter, who's 31, has her master's. I couldn't be more proud of her. She calls me Robert De Niro from that movie Intern. It's like that. She's like, Dad, that's what you are. You're like, but yeah, I mean, my first job was an office job I ever had. So here I am. This was 2 years ago. Once COVID kind of chilled, I got my first job, and I was editing. That was a digital media company, and I'm at a table where pretty much 3 of them together, I'm about as old as them.
Right.
And it was fun. I love the energy. They were really kind. I was like dad there, like I was just chilling. And, when they were talking and stuff, I'm like, I was like, the old guy with the wisdom. I'm like, yeah, let me just tell you about this. You get the girl crying about the boyfriend. I'm like, let me give you some advice.
Right, yeah.
Being that guy.
There's going to be another. Calm down.
Yeah. And then in turn, they were like, here, check out this style of editing, or here, check this out. It was kind of like a give and take, and it was a lot of fun. So even one of the funny stories was, I walked in there, and one of the younger guys, he was like 20, really nice guy. He said something about dips. He's like, man, I love your dips or whatever. And I'm like,
Drips.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is dips? So
No, this is fucking hilarious. It's drips. It's
drip.
It's your drips.
Dips, whatever the fuck. See, that's how it tells you how old I am.
Right.
And apparently it meant my shoes or some shit. I don't know. Clothes, right?
Yeah. Your clothes. Yes.
Okay. And I was like, what the fuck is she? And they're like, Dad, calm down. He's just complimenting your clothes. I'm like, okay. So again, there's the, like you get the lost in translation, but it leads to a funny moment,
Right.
And I think that was the thing. And now, same thing. It's I work from home, luckily. So I have, everybody's around the world. So it's actually funny conversations. In fact, once we get done with this, I have a work call and with the other editors, and they're over in Philippines, and they're nuts, and it's fun. And, it's cool. It's a cool second life, if you will,
Right.
But I think there's a single-mindedness that musicians have, and maybe athletes have too, where you literally, it's like Cortez burning his ships. Like, there's no way I'm not doing this. I'm not going home. I'm not turning back. There's no plan B.
Yeah.
And once you get that idea, it's like, okay, I'm literally gonna adhere everything I can in my energy department to getting this done.
Right.
People who have not done that don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they don't understand like the left turn you'll take in your career. Like Phil was just talking about, like when I ran the family business for a while, I'd never done anything like that.
Yeah, but you
all right, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you listen. Like that's one of the things that I always loved about Chris. It's like, he'll call you if there's something he wants to know. And that's what I've learned, that where I'm like, I will ask questions.
Yeah.
No shit. I don't
Yeah.
claim to. I don't want, like I will tell you experiences and look for the right answer, or look for an answer. And we're in a world of like, there's so many ways to write a song. There's so many ways to play drums. There's so many ways like it. And that's why I've always kind of picked my lane. And I just wanted to be great at what I did, was what I do, like that's, and when you get recognized for that, it's really exciting because I know that I got there, on what I was thinking. Like when your idols come to you, and Chris and I have experienced that, and it's like, what, like,
Yeah.
it's
Crazy.
unbelievable. I mean, I was telling Chris, I haven't filled him in, but Kent Slusha, who plays with Luke Bryan, is a big fan of the Jake E. Lee record I did, and he's I've such great respect for him, and he's this great gig, and he's but deep down inside, we're all just drummers or musicians recognizing like good stuff, and I thought that was great. And then on the flip side, I just had him on the floor telling Kiss stories because he's a rock fan,
Right.
and that's it. It's like you just it was just like one of those fun days that you get to be around all these great people and they accept you, and there's so many times when I go, man, I was just in my room just playing drums one day.
Yeah.
To be a rock star.
Right. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it happened. And look, you could say what you want about one hit, but I'd rather have one hit than no hits at all.
Right.
I mean, honestly. So and that one hit gave me a 30-year career. So even though I'm not on it, ironically, but I can crescendo with the best of them. So
there's no kick drum on that song.
No, it's a giant marching drum that and some cymbal crescendos. But as I say, I will crescendo and make the girls cry. So
there you go.
There you go.
That's usually what happens. And when I'm just hanging with them in general.
I was going to say, but what about when you're playing drums?
Exactly. When they're trying to claw their way out of the house and stuff like that. I'm just like, the lock turns this way.
All right, we love to do a couple things on the big show here. One is name a song that when you heard it, it literally like you had to stop what you were doing and listen to it, and it changed everything.
There's a couple of Let It Be is my song.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let It Be just floored me. But there's two. Well, Chris, my mother was a huge Elvis Presley fan.
Oh yeah.
So she introduced me to Elvis. So I remember playing the Burning Love record over and over. Like I love that record. And then my dad introduced me to the Beatles. And I had I Want to Hold Your Hand actually was a single that he introduced me to. But later on, and he also introduced me to, Richard Pryor and Red Fox. And I was 10 years old and howling, listening to this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Still to this day, some of the funniest stuff you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
Recorded. So, yeah, but more than that, I think Let It Be, because it means so much. I really hit a nerve with me. And that's my song. It's a song that, if I heard live, I would probably cry. You
resolve, right? Yeah.
I don't know if I can meet Paul McCartney without like losing my shit. Thing.
You got to tell the Brian Setzer and your mom story.
Oh well, yeah. So we were playing a show in South Florida. Love Is on the Way had just gone #1 in South Florida, and it was climbing up the charts, and it was doing. And we were headlining this big rock festival in town, and Stray Cats was the band going on before us. I won't say they were opening up for us; they were just going on before us because they just shred. And we did, we were a rock band, our new rock band. But because it was our hometown, we were headlining basically. But so Setzer came up on the bus. He's just a wonderful, wonderful man. He came on the bus to say hello to us. We took a bus down, even though it was South Florida, because all the family came. And my daughter was just born, Talia, so she was like 2 months old. We brought her, so it was just a really nice day. But all the family was on there. So as soon as Setzer comes on the bus, he's got an Elvis shirt on, and my mother loses her shit, right? And I'm like, Ma, don't bother. Don't bother him. Oh God, I love Elvis. It going ape shit, right? Like, Mom, stop. And Chris knows. You tell my mother not to do something, she's gonna do it.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
I'll tell the extreme story after that. But basically,
or coming home to the airports, we would come home from a trip. She would be there. If it was 1 a.m, she would be there with a sign saying, "Welcome home, Saigon Kick."
Yeah.
She was amazing. I was like, God, I wish my mom was involved in this, like an infinitesimal amount of this.
Right.
There was Angela. Oh God, you guys are home. Are you okay? You're tired. You want something to eat? I'm like, oh God, you're killing me.
Oh, my mother, man, in the mosh pit, they knew her.
Oh yeah.
They put a ring around her. They knew better.
Yep.
But yeah, so after my mother harassed Brian Setzer for I don't know how long, and I'm like, leave him alone, and he was just so gracious. And he says to her, okay, Angela, I'll give you this shirt after, and I'm like, Brian, yeah, really, seriously, you don't have to, it's fine. I appreciate but he took her address, and sure as shit later, like a week later or so, the shirt comes in the mail. I still have it to this day.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's signed to Angela. My mother passed away in 98, but it's signed to her, to Angela, freshly washed or something like that, and Setzer. And that was incredible, and it was something, and it's an Elvis shirt. So it's like, and I have it here in the house. It's like my prized possession. It's and that's the good people of we and,
right.
Nice.
Now on the flip side, real quick, is Extreme. So it's the last night of the tour.
We just, by the way, the thing behind me on the wall, I got it that night.
Yeah, we got him this night. So we're and I my mother loves Extreme. Like, she was a rock fan, loves Extreme.
Yep.
And we're doing sound check. I'm like, Ma, do not bother Extreme. Okay. When I get done sound checking, I'll take you up to meet them. Do not bother them. I'm saying, okay, Philip, I won't. And so we start playing, and I'm like, where's my mother at? Like, so you get nervous. Like, where the hell's my mother?
Yeah, where's Angela?
Yeah, Angela's fucking running free at the Hotel Night Center. And go upstairs in his elevator, and opens up, and my mother has Extreme in a photo shoot in the hallway, calling Nuno Nanu, because she's nuts. Okay, Nanu, just move over here a little bit, get in the picture, Nanu. And everything back then was like hard cop, like, we got your photos developed at Eckerd Drugs. She was $20,000 on it, but the Buster Balls about that. But my whole career, I have pictures of now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that was the whole thing. And Extreme, the nicest guys on the planet, because okay, move over there, Nanu. Okay. And they're just like, okay, Mrs. Varone. They're just being so nice to her.
Yeah, yep.
And I'm just like, oh, but they were very gracious. But that's my mother. I'm like, don't tell them not to do it.
All parents have kind of like a different status with band members. It's funny. It's like the band can be fighting viciously, but if the parents are involved, it's like everything stops for the parents, and everyone absolutely agrees. The parents get everything. They get royal treatment. It's amazing. And any band I've ever been in does the same thing.
Yeah.
The parents have this, vaunted status that nobody else has.
And we took care of Extreme. I mean, their family were big Saigon Kick fans, and it's just respect across.
And their crew.
Yeah. But
one of their crew wore a Saigon Kick shirt in his senior picture for his high school photo. John Brady, and I'm looking at you. John, dude, it's weak, dude. I wore a shirt, dude, in the picture, dude.
That's awesome. That's
high school senior, dude.
All right. Well, we have to let Phil get to his Philippines meeting.
I just got here. What happened?
There's no Philippines without Philip. I'm just telling you.
You can't have Philippines without Phil.
That's right.
much. By the way, we do have a new guy at work. His name is Philip with a P with an F. He's from Russia.
Oh,
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah.
And he's not in the army somewhere.
It's not in the army. He's defected. What am I?
No,
Well,
Been all the week.
very good.
9-inch nails. Shout out to Rick from Florida.
Rick from Florida for you there. Yeah. By the way, Jack, real quick, we were in a German restaurant in Madison, Wisconsin with the Shinedown's, and we're getting ready to go eat something. And I somehow led us onto the stage with the band. You know, I didn't have I just had a Spinal Tap moment. Either that or it's a habit, right? And so this Oompa band is playing, and I said to Rick, you know, what is the name of this? What do you think the name of this band is? And he goes, 9-Inch Nails, Nein, 9.
9.
German.
Like, oh my God! It was like that too. He didn't
Right.
blink.
Big. That will go down. It'll never be topped.
No. That's Rick from Florida for you.
It's a glass case right now. It'll never be
Awesome. Right on. Well, we're gonna have to do this again because I didn't get the Gene and Paul. You know, I've been told about the Gene and Paul imitation. I've only got less than a minute left on our
Right.
Zoom because we can't afford.
One quick impression of Sylvester Stallone from the Expendables. You have to just go, "Hey, Sly."
Hey, Sly.
You see, because his neck is all.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Very
much.
good.
I appreciate the work you put into that.
Yeah, I think I just pulled my back. So, because I'm
Awesome.
And it's always a pleasure, boys.
Absolutely.
much.
Let's do it again sometime.
Let's do it again.
Yes,
soon.
for sure.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Good.
Phil Varone, Bill Malone, put your hands together for the Italian combo.
Thank you very much, everyone.
There it is. There it is.
Thanks.
Perfect.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
We shall see you.
Talk at you later. Peace out.
Well, I don't know if we got any questions answered, but it was sure fun.
Yeah. So it felt like pretty much every day on the tour bus right there.
That's perfect. That's
Easy.
sounds like a good time on the tour bus. The one thing that I'm trying to figure out is what is the origin of the slang word of drips?
I'm still trying to figure it out myself. It's clearly something that I thought I was hip enough and would know. And so did Phil, and we were horribly wrong. So people feel free to comment, let us know.
Yeah.
It came up when Phil was at one of the editing jobs he had just gotten, and he showed up because Phil has style, so he shows up, and it doesn't look like he's trying too hard. There's that Eddie Izzard circle of looking like a dickhead, and now you're cool, and now you're looking like a dickhead, and now you're cool.
Yeah.
So you got, especially as you get older, it's like I don't want to look like the guy at Costco, but I don't want to look like I'm trying to hang around my nephews.
Right.
So Phil shows up one day, and one of the kids at the job says, like, "Man, look at Phil in the new drips," and he's like, "Drips?" He's like, "What? Is my nose dripping? Have I got sweat on my underarms?" So we had because he calls me up. He's like, "What's drips?" I'm like, "Why are you asking me? Just try it on your phone." He's like, "I can't find it." I was like, "What do you mean?" Now we sound like two old guys on a bench feeding the ducks,
Right.
So yeah, that's how we were introduced to drips. It's your clothing, it's your style, it's your wardrobe, it's your attitude. As Mike did, maybe he did. Mike Damone would say,
Right.
The attitude dictates.
Yes. Well, see, we're hipping everybody up.
That's right. They're bringing us to drips. We're bringing them right down to Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Perfect. All right. Well, this has been a great one.
Yes.
So thanks to Billy Malone.
Thanks. Also known as the Chief and the Nickel.
Yes.
That's what I think I noticed about being in Saigon Kick. I think when you're like a really tight band, everyone has like 4 or 5 different nicknames.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was unique to that band. But I knew other bands like Black and Blue all had nicknames, plenty of nicknames for each other.
Really?
Yeah. So Saigon Kick was the first band I was in where everyone had multiple nicknames.
All right. We got to get somebody from Black and Blue on to find out what their nicknames are.
Yeah. You know who we need? And I'll get him. We need Jamie St. James because A, he can tell a story. B, he originated all the nicknames. He's one of those guys that gives you the nickname because you can't choose your nickname.
Right. Oh, of course.
It's like the mob. You can't choose your mob nickname. Someone has to give you the name.
Yes.
So it's the same thing. Saint is a wizard at giving people nicknames.
All right, perfect. Let's get him on for 30 minutes and see if he gives us new nicknames.
He probably will.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, until next time, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. You can find us there. Comment. We'll get back to you.
Yep, we will.
We kind of do that because we got no other life.
No.
So until we speak again, I'm Jack Trash.
I'm Chris McLernon.
And live your life to 10 plus 1.
And we'll see you at Will Call.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Plus One, a rock and roll podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to get all the latest backstage info. Check out our past shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And check out our video of this or past episodes on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. New episodes drop every Wednesday.